Hi, my question is open to all the panelists. I would like to show my concern about trivialization of hashtags in campaigns like "No means no," which comes from Bollywood and all the movies. "Why loiter," as Kalki mentioned, and also, I mean, all the campaigns which we see running on social media. So my question is, I'm sure my friends or people here in the hall, they know about women empowerment, everybody's talking about it, but when it comes to self-advocating the life, human rights of women or practicing it or putting it into action, so I see a gap there. And it makes no sense, talking about it every time, but when you come to practice it, nobody is doing it. So how do we fill that gap?
Kalki, will take that?
I mean, yeah, I think that's a general disease of the time, that social media, we talk a lot more on social media than we do in life. We feel like we've saved half the world on Facebook in half a day by saying, supporting 20 causes, but actually, what are we doing on the ground level? But I think that, things have to start somewhere. You cannot silence a cause, yes, hashtags, maybe 70% of hashtags are just hashtags, but those 20% make a difference. There are 20% of those women who use the hashtag, or people who use the hashtag and actually go out and do it, go out and loiter, and go out and support a cause or change laws, or even as simple as in your daily life, if you're in an office job or whatever job you're in, what do you choose? It makes a difference. Women always ask me, how can I support the cause of women? And I said, support yourself. Because, if you're empowering yourself in your workplace, if you're standing up for that little misogynistic, joke that's happening, you're already making a change. Yes, it might not, feel like a big change, but if everybody does that every day, it is making a change. So small steps and constantly bringing up the conversation is the way forward. And of course, it's easy to be jaded by social media. I think that a lot more is said than done on social media. But it has also cut out the middleman. It has also made that people can be themselves. Like if I want to correct something that's misquoted about me, I can do it on my Twitter. And all in all, I think cutting out the middleman, cutting out that anyone being able to speak about what they really think is as Gul was saying, the greater good,
Yeah, I'd just like to add that, if you see what is the most, like I come from an advertising background, right? So what works is messages when they're repeated. There's a reason why all of these all brands really repeat messages, right? And I think the same sort of idea is that if you repeat the conversation and it's constantly active and it's constantly happening around you, that's what affects you. And then you start to make small changes within your limited sphere of influence, right? So you may not see it, but it's happening with every individual person in their own limited sphere of influence. And like she said, it'll take a while where you start to see a large, drastic change happening, but it's starting and it is happening, and social media contributes to that in a big way.
I'd promised that I'm not going to monopolize and talk less, but I really have to add something to that. And I'm using that, I'm removing the time frame here, because when you say you don't find changes happening immediately and people don't contribute meaningfully, if you look at, if you remove the time reference frame here and look at a very larger period of time, any change in society, anthropologically, has to start by first acknowledging the problem exists. So it starts with discussion, debate, discourse. That is when people become aware of it. Right now, a few of us may be aware of it, but each time, say, you use that hashtag, maybe somebody who wasn't aware of what was happening actually becomes aware of it. I experienced that 2 days ago when I added on to the dress like an Indian woman, otherwise you'll get PCOD. Thing that was going on 2 days ago. So one is that discussion, debate, dialogue is the first step towards change. The second point is that any change in society takes 3 generations. The first generation becomes aware of it. The second generation actively does something about it, and the third generation reaps benefits. So it's always a long process. Lastly, when there is dialogue, discussion, debate on a particular subject, people's awareness increases, then over the course of time, one can look towards affirmative action, both from civil society and maybe legislative. Just to give you a small example, not too long ago in history, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was one of the social reformers who pushed the cause of trying to ban things that probably were not so unacceptable back in the day. And finally, it was the work of multiple social reformers that got sati banned. And if you were to look at it today, there's no reason for sati to have happened. But it took social reformers of that period, then followed by aggressive legislation. It took over 100 years before legislation was passed, that too by the British, to ban sati. But the life cycle of any change is unfortunately that, and what social media is doing is contributing towards chatter, yes, but is also making more and more people aware of what we're talking about. And I think that's really, really important, because if the change that we want to see is going to happen 3 generations from now, which is 45 years, 15, 15, 15, it has to start now. Sorry, I really am not going to talk anymore now.
No, but it's true what you said, because it's, I think with social media it also is going to happen much quicker. Because, I mean, it connects so many people, puts them all together in one platform. I mean, of course, back in the day, you wrote a letter and it reached 6 months later, and then things started moving ahead. Anyway, we'll move on to you, yeah, at the back.
So you, this whole article about girls wearing men clothing and having some disease, right?
PCOD, polycystic ovary disorder.
Yeah, so when I read the whole thing, it was really something that I couldn't relate to. One of my friend shared it. I've studied with her in a class, so it was like, kahan se? You know, how did a principal say something like this, and who made that person a principal? I just want to understand, as a clothing brand, what do you think about that kind of comment? How do you look at that as an opportunity to kind of place yourself and say that, you know, there is nothing related to clothing, or how do you want to take it? This is to Sandeep.
Yeah. So for us, you know, when you look at the history of the brand, so what I said, you know, for us it's the 3 pillars: colors, knitwear, and social responsibility. So the social responsibility has been built in from day one. So when Mr. Benetton started this journey, when he was, you know, supplying garments from door to door, and when he started his journey 60 years back, somehow he felt that, you know, it's very important that as a brand we have to be socially responsible, and socially responsible in the right way. That was very, very clear. So when you look at the history of the brand, it's always about being socially responsible in the right way. And yes, there may be things which are happening in the society which tend to give some speculation, or, you know, on which the brand can. So we be very clear. We want to be we want to work in a way, we want to conduct ourselves in a way that we are linked to the right causes in the right way. That's the, so we don't want to, you know, just, okay, this come up, so just grab this and, you know, look at selling your garments. No, never. Because there's a $2 billion euro organization globally, and it's always conducted itself in the right way. It's not looked at that, okay, this year was bad, so, you know, we are not getting the right revenue, so look at some topic and start talking about it. No, it's never been like that. So you will see our approach during last 60 years to be very, very consistent and right. We have never tried looking at anything which is, you know, like a small opportunity to grab and, you know, sell garments. No, never. So as a clothing a conglomerate or a giant, we are very, very clear, right sort of topics, which, so idea is to be, act as enabler, you know, to contribute towards society in the right way. Talk about right topics and contribute towards the evolution of society. As Gul said, you know, three generations. So today when you look at why sati existed, you know, it's a very basic question. So a lot of such things are there. So we have to be very, very clear, and we have to keep contributing. That's the way we're looking at it.
What is the message for youngsters for Valentine's Day?
I think we can keep that question for closer to Valentine's Day. Yes, ma'am.
So, what do you all think about women in startup culture? I mean, how much ever we say, you know, we've become modern, the mentality is still that, अरे लड़का है तो पक्का business करेगा, अच्छे से करेगा, you know, he'll be able to handle all the pressure and everything. And when it comes to a woman, if I have my share of savings, it has to be a choice. Oh, should I spend on my fancy marriage or, you know, the startup? I mean, why do you think as women we always have to be we have to have believe in ourselves, whereas men are supported so much, we have to be so self-assuring ki, theek hai, no, we'll be able to do it, we'll be able to do it. So why is it that you know, we have to have belief in ourselves, and there's no one who actually kind of does that for us. Whereas when it comes to men, people are there, you know, always supporting them and saying, you know, they can do it. Just to everyone.
That is the basis of a patriarchal culture, right? So that's the whole point of when society or the culture is completely geared towards uplifting or celebrating men, and women sort of are supposed to support that journey, and they not really have a journey for themselves, right? So you know, one of the things is, like I said, women can't do it alone. You need to work with men. I'm not saying you need you know, to be lifted up by men, but you need to work with men, right? So of course it starts with being self-assured and having the confidence, and even if you don't have the confidence to kind of take that jump and take that leap of faith, but also you know, kind of enlisting support of whoever you can to be part of your journey, right? And sometimes you have to take a leap of faith and do it just by yourself, right? But wherever you can find that support, and wherever you can demand it, you should. And that's how you beat the patriarchy.
Yeah, back there.
I think you can hear me.
Yes.
This question is for our actresses on the stage, please. My question is around constructs through mainstream feature films, and what the progress, if you have any insight. I know you can't speak on behalf of the entire film industry, but are there any insights, or is there progress moving towards more women getting behind the camera and actually directing? I think it's nice to be able to.
I think you're asking this question also to two most progressive sort
Yes,
of
that's precisely
directors
right.
in this business.
Beyond you both, what's the movement like?
So, I don't know what's going on, but I'm only getting films offered by female directors. I've had Zoya Akhtar, Shonali Bose. I'm working with Rakhi Sandhiliya right now on a film about maternity leave and women in the workforce. Who else have I worked with? My DOP was Anne Masawa on Margarita with a Straw. I don't know why, I'm attracting a lot of female directors, and you know, we are less, for sure, there are fewer female directors. So, I mean, I also know that that's maybe because of the work I do, the things I choose, people kind of find that like they have something similar to say. I feel what's really missing still in our industry is in commercial cinema is that the writing is still very hero-based. Our writing is still based on uplifting the hero. If there's a heroine in the film, she is usually uplifting and supporting the hero. And it's still the exception to have a film like Piku or Queen, where the heroine is the uplifter of the movie. And I think, you know, it would be great to see more writing where sometimes where the woman is the hero, but also sometimes where the woman is the villain, or the woman is playing, you know, very ordinary characters where we, like a driver, you know, like me and Gul are motorbikers, and everyone finds that like shocking, a girl on a bike, but why is that not a norm? So, you know, I think representing women in cinema outside of the stereotype of the virginal beauty or, you know, the vamp, sexy item girl. I mean, seeing women in just ordinary jobs doing what they do in that is really important, and I think that begins with writing. So it's important to look out for those kind of stories.
Gul, you want to add anything to that?
I think Kalki's made a very valid point. There is the storytelling has been very one-dimensional in a lot of our films, but that's also unfortunately been the case in the West, and that is the larger patriarchal umbrella that we all fall under. There have been path-breaking films like Kahani, Piku, Turning 30, which Purabana.
Where Gul was the protagonist, and I sat behind on a motorbike with her.
But I think, again, you know, I just want us to speak of things in a larger frame. The fact that the change is beginning now, and the fact that there is a lot of writing which is well, not a lot, but there is a certain percentage of writing that is seeing women in the myriad roles they actually play in society: a corporate honcho, a pilot, a doctor, a driver. And I think that change has begun, and we'll only begin to see results, in 15, 20 years, but or maybe faster. But it's unrealistic to expect any change in a time frame that's lesser than that. But if we keep asking these questions, if we keep having these conversations, that change will surely come. Or if we give up and say, "Arey yaar, we asked all these questions, no change ever came, what the hell?" then it's not going to happen. So the idea is for us to constantly keep questioning what's happening around us, talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more change will permeate into society, not just the film industry, but the corporate world and society as a whole, because ultimately, cinema is a mirror of what's happening in society. Society begins to have equal participation of women, then you will see more participation of women in storytelling. And last but not least, the point that I want to sort of say my goodbye with is that 50% of our human resource in this country is female. Okay, 49% when it comes to India, unfortunately, but it's about half of India's HR resource is female. It is lying unutilized. That is the greatest argument for the whole country as a whole. Men and women to together work to make sure that women become part of the workforce. Because otherwise, we're never going to beat China. So if you want to take over the dragon, you have to bring in the entire population, cajole it into the workforce, and not end up losing half the population that just doesn't get the opportunity because of whatever reason. So I think that is the biggest argument in favor of getting women into the mainstream, getting women into the workforce, empowerment, and men should work towards it, because after all, they also want greater GDP, they also want greater return on their stocks. So it's in everybody's interests for our country to do better, and in order for us to do better, we need to have more women participating in all walks of life, including but not limited to cinema. I'm done. I'm sorry.
We're going to take one last question before we end these questions from the audience. Yeah, you.
Yeah. Hi. So I think the most common misconception with feminism is that it's basically women ruling over men. And it's not looking at the fact that it's equality in all standpoints, where you're allowing the men to, like a man can cook, or a man can be a stay-at-home father if that's what he wishes to do. And for that reason, I really applaud the effort, because by putting it as united by half, you're really making a standpoint. Now, I have a couple of points. One about the talking about the socio-cultural impact that is is imposed upon us by the patriarchal society. I think it goes all the way back to the time of conception, when if you're looking at if I have a boy, just take the impact of the color pink and blue, right? You're going to be thinking what. I watched this video which said that when I was born, I was given a pink blanket. So you can look at many ways in which fashion can bring about the change that we wish to see. Because if we maybe make clothes which are more, I don't know how to put this, but typical fashion has.
Neutral.
Yeah, fashion has actually done that.
Stripes, blue and pink stripes.
Yeah. Together. Yeah. Now, my main question is while we're making a stand here, and I don't want to say that we are the generation that has understood that we have a problem. I want to say that we are the generation that is going to fight for the change. So I'm just going to ask that, what change do you see this campaign bringing about personally? What, taking into account all the issues that you've brought up, what changes do you want the campaign to?
So again, it's a being part of a journey. It's adding to a journey. It's contributing to a journey of, wherein the men have to, sort of take a pledge wherein they say, they will work towards giving a equal half to the women in their life. So it's your sister, it's your mother, it's your wife, it's your girlfriend, whoever is associated with you as a guy. What are you going to do? And so for example, my sister, I ensured that, because I was in a family which was very well empowered, so I ensured that she does a study properly when the decision was being taken. When my mother was thinking, to what extent she has to should she do MBA or not. So I said no, she has to do MBA. So she's also currently working. She has a family, so she's working. She's managing family. She's helping her husband also in the business. So the idea here is that when we're talking about this, we want the current generation. When you look at the current generation, also for them also. Again, 15, 20 years or 25 years it will take for the society to feel the final impact. So we want the current generation to help us spread this message and contribute towards bringing more awareness, so that, you know, talking, constantly engaging and interacting, you help people evolve around yourself, and that's how the campaign is going to help. So it's just a small contribution, I would say, but we are very proud to be associated or maybe to contribute towards the journey. That's how I'm looking at it.
मेरा ये मानना है कि यूनाइटेड कलर्स ऑफ बेनेटॉन की जो कैंपेन है यूनाइटेड बाय हाफ एक बहुत ही सराहनीय अटेम्प्ट है हमारी सोसाइटी में जो कि काफ़ी पुरुष प्रधान है जहाँ पे एक पुरुष प्रधान सोच प्रचलित है। यहाँ पर जितनी भी हम एफ़र्ट्स ऐसे करें, जितनी भी हम कैंपेन्स ऐसे करें, बहुत काम आती हैं, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ बहुत सी ऐसी महिलाएं हैं जिन्हें अपना शेयर जो उन्हें मिलना चाहिए, जो उनके अधिकार हैं, जो उन्हें मिलने चाहिए, मिलते नहीं हैं। तो मैं बहुत खुश हूँ। आई एम वेरी वेरी हैप्पी टू सपोर्ट द यूनाइटेड कलर्स ऑफ बेनेटॉन United by Half campaign. I think it's a fantastic campaign and I congratulate them for having taken this step towards corporate responsibility to push something which is so important in a society like ours.
कहीं ना कहीं देश में आज भी महिला और पुरुष में काफी फर्क देखा जाता है, कभी दिखाया जाता है कि यार ये महिला वैसे है, ये पुरुष है, लेकिन इस तरीके से इसको किस तरीके से देखते हैं?
मेरा ये मानना है कि अगर हमें समाज में कोई भी बदलाव लेकर आना है तो उसके लिए पहले बातचीत करनी होगी, उस मुद्दे पर शायद वाद होगा, विवाद होगी, उसके बाद ही कोई तब्दीली आएगी। और इस बात में कोई शक नहीं है कि हमारे यहाँ जो आधी जनसंख्या है हमारी, जो महिलाओं की गिनती है, अगर वहाँ से उस दृष्टिकोण से देखा जाए तो शायद बहुत सी ऐसी महिलाएं हैं जिन्हें अगले क्षण वो क्या करेंगी ये भी चुनने का हक नहीं है। तो बाकी दूसरे बड़े बड़े हकों की बात करें तो शायद लंबी बात है, पर बेसिक कहाँ जाना है, कितना पढ़ना है, किससे शादी करनी है, ये भी उन्हें अधिकार नहीं है चुनने का। तो मेरा ये मानना है कि हम जितनी भी कैंपेन्स ऐसे करें ये उस मुद्दे को और उछालेंगी, और जैसे जैसे ये मुद्दा और उछलेगा तो ही आने वाले सालों में हमें तब्दीली दिखाई देगी। I think Bollywood is a very, very powerful medium. It has the potential to propagate ideas, to push change while entertaining the audience. And I think if that can be done with the clear intent of entertaining first and then putting together a powerful message, whatever that message may be, I think we will see change come in society sooner rather than later.
वैसे मैं यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक मॉडरेटर के रोल प्ले कर रहा हूँ। मैं स्टेज पे हमारे जो पैनलिस्ट थे, बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग पैनलिस्ट थे, गुल पनाग को लेके सॉरी अच्छा कैमरा लुक मैं बोल रहा हूँ, मैं सोचे मैं बोल रहा कैमरा रोलिंग मैं तो बातें चालू कर दी है, फिर से लूँगा। वैसे इस कैंपेन के साथ, इस इवेंट के साथ मैं सिर्फ एक मॉडरेटर के एक रोल निभा रहा हूँ। यहाँ पे हमारे पैनलिस्ट बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग थे, जैसे कि मेघना जो स्कूप की एक स्ट्रैटेजिस्ट है, फिर गुल पनाग जो एक एक्सट्रीमली ग्रेट एक्टर, ऑल्सो वेरी प्रोमिनेंट पॉलिटिशियन नाउ। मेरे लिए गुल तो एक बाइक राइडर हमेशा रहेगी, शी राइड्स अ बाइक ऑल्सो एंड ऑल्सो फ्लाइज अ प्लेन। कल्की केकला जो एक्चुअली इस कैंपेन की फेस है, उनकी फ़ोटो भी वहाँ लगी है। आई थिंक शी इज़ एन इंटरेस्टिंग पैनलिस्ट एंड ऑफ कोर्स संदीप चुग जो इस कंपनी के एमडी है। आई थिंक वो पैनलिस्ट है, वो अच्छी तरह से जुड़े हैं, लेकिन इनकी जो आइडियाज़ है, इनकी कैंपेन के जो आइडियाज़ है, मैं वाकिफ़ हूँ उससे। एंड आई थिंक आई स्टैंड बाय बिलीविंग दैट विमेन एंड मेन शुड बी ट्रीटेड इक्वली एंड वी शुड बी यूनाइटेड हाफ वे थ्रू।
जानना चाहूँगा जिस तरीके से आज के टाइम में देश इतना आगे निकलने के बावजूद भी अभी वुमेन्स और मेंस में काफ़ी फर्क किए जाते हैं, इस पर आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
मेरे ख्याल से हमारे देश में पॉपुलेशन इतना बड़ा है, अगर एक आइडिया, जैसे कि गुल ने स्टेज में भी पॉइंट आउट किया था कि 3 जनरेशन लगते कि एक आइडिया को एक्चुअली इम्प्लाई होने में और एक बड़ा सा चेंज लाने के लिए, और हमारे देश में ज़्यादातर क्योंकि हम इतना अपना पॉपुलेशन जो इतना बड़ा है, तो एक आइडिया कहीं जर्म होता है, एक कोने में कहीं कोई एक आइडिया दे देता है और उस आइडिया को फैलने में थोड़ा वक्त लग जाता है। तो अब फ़िलहाल इस टाइप की चीज़ें कई सालों से इस डिस्कशन हो रही है। इसी टॉपिक में विमेन एम्पावरमेंट में देखा जाए इतना सप्रेशन हो चुका है इन द पास्ट की एक एक चीज़ को उठा के काम शुरू हुआ है, कुछ चीज़ सॉल्व हुआ है, कुछ चीज़ अभी भी सॉल्व होने बाकी है। तो मेरे ख्याल से टाइम लगेगा, लेकिन बदलाव आ रहा है, तेज़ गति से आ रही है। आई थिंक कुछ सालों में मैं सोचता हूँ कि अपने देश को सचमुच एक प्रोग्रेसिव देश सोचने के लिए सोच सकेंगे जब विमेन एंड मेन विल बी ट्रीटेड इक्वली, कि कोई डिवाइड नहीं होगा दोनों के बीच में।
वुमेन पावर की बात करें तो बॉलीवुड की हीरोइन सोनाक्षी सिन्हा दबंगल कहलाई जाती हैं, जो बहुत अच्छी मूवी करके इंडिया की सारी लड़कियों को अच्छा मैसेज दी है। हाल ही में आप उनके साथ शूटिंग कर रहे हैं नूर पिक्चर की, तो व्हाट्स द स्टेटस ऑफ द मूवी और कैसा रहा है एक्सपीरियंस फर्स्ट टाइम सोनाक्षी सिन्हा?
नूर के बारे में मैं ज़्यादा नहीं बोलूँगा, इतना ही आपके जो पहला सवाल था कि पिक्चर कहाँ तक पहुँची है। शूटिंग कंप्लीट हो गई है और बहुत जल्द आपको बहुत इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलेगा, क्योंकि 21 अप्रैल को रिलीज़ भी है। तो बहुत अनाउंसमेंट्स होंगे, बहुत पार्टीज़ होंगे, बहुत इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलेगा आपको फिल्म के बारे में। बड़ी अच्छी फिल्म। सोनाक्षी इज़ ग्रेट, आई थिंक शी इज़ अ सुपर्ब लीडिंग लेडी। कुछ डिस्कशन हुआ था भी आज स्टेज पे कि बहुत से पिक्चर नहीं बनते जहाँ पे फीमेल लीड्स पे लिखा जाता है स्टोरी, और नूर ऐसी फिल्म है जहाँ पे नूर की जो कैरेक्टर है इज़ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड एम्बिशियस गर्ल, एंड सोनाक्षी इज़ सुपर्ब एज नूर। और मेरा एक छोटा सा किरदार है, आप देखेंगे तो पता लग जाएगा।
सो जैसे कि वैलेंटाइन भी आ रहा है, सो व्हाट्स योर वैलेंटाइन प्लान?
माय वैलेंटाइन प्लान्स इज़ वेल, मुझे नहीं लगता कि एक दिन है कि जहाँ पे आप अपने जो भी लव्ड वंस है को बोलना चाहिए कि आई लव यू, हर दिन बोलना चाहिए। तो फ़िलहाल मेरे वैलेंटाइन प्लान्स ये कि मैं अफ्रीका जा रहा हूँ, और उसके येलो फीवर का जो शॉट का अपॉइंटमेंट मिला है मुझे, वो 14 तारीख को है, तो सुबह को मैं येलो फीवर शॉट ले रहा हूँ।
Yeah, so I'm here for United by Half, which is a campaign by United Colors of Benetton on women empowerment. And the whole idea of United by Half is the idea that women are claiming their half. So we don't want to be better than men, we don't want more than men, but we want to be equal to men. And I think it's a very important campaign. I think it's also very relevant today. It's a global conversation, and and it means that men and women need to work together rather than separate from each other.
कल किस तरीके से देखते हैं डिफरेंस को मेल और फीमेल से, जिस तरीके से आज के टाइम में किया जाता है कि हमेशा वुमेन्स को एक मेल से छोटा माना जाता है, छोटा कहा जाता है, जैसे गांव एरिया में या किसी भी एरिया में। तो आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे सर?
क्या परसेप्शन है कि एक लड़की है तो उसको पिंक ही पहनना चाहिए, और एक लड़का है तो
वो स्टेरियोटाइपिंग बहुत है, एब्सोल्युटली मेल और फीमेल जेंडर स्टेरियोटाइपिंग बहुत है। और क्या होता है कि जब फीमेल्स को स्टेरियोटाइप करते हैं, वो बोलते हैं कि लड़की को ऐसे काम नहीं कर सकती है, वो मोटर बाइक नहीं राइड कर सकती है, ऐसे जब हम कहते हैं वो ऑटोमेटिकली मेल स्टेरियोटाइपिंग भी होता है कि लड़का मर्द होना चाहिए, माचो होना चाहिए, उसको मतलब रोना नहीं चाहिए। और ये लिमिटेशंस हो जाता है सोसाइटी में। क्यों एक लड़की फुटबॉल नहीं खेल सकती, क्यों एक लड़का आर्टिस्ट नहीं बन सकता है। तो आई थिंक इट्स वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट कि ये बदल सकते हैं हम, एंड आई थिंक वो कॉन्वर्सेशंस हो रहे हैं, धीरे धीरे बदल रहा है और लोगों सोच रहे हैं इसके बारे में। तो कभी एक फिल्म होता है जैसे पीकू, जहाँ पे दीपिका पादुकोण इज़ द मेन हीरो ऑफ द फिल्म, वो तो हीरो है। कोई ऑफन जब मैं कोई फिल्म कर रही हूँ, लोग मुझे पूछते हैं हीरो कौन है फिल्म में, तो लाइक मार्गरीटा विद अ स्ट्रॉ में मैं बोलती हूँ मैं ही हीरो हूँ। तो वो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि फीमेल हीरोइंस भी है, मेल हीरोज़ भी है, कि हम इक्वल है, हम सब इंसान हैं पहले, उसके बाद हम एक मेल या लड़का या लड़की है, लेकिन पहले हम इंसान हैं।
You also doing a show on a Fox Light traveling show. What was that? Tell us something.
फॉक्स ट्रैवलर पे एक बाइक शो किया था मेरे पापा के साथ, और वो भी एक जेंडर स्टेरियोटाइप ब्रेक किया हमने, क्योंकि लोग सोचते हैं कि लड़की बाइक पे नहीं जाती है, एंड इट वाज थ्रू नॉर्थ ईस्ट, वो भी क्योंकि हम ज़्यादा नॉर्थ ईस्ट को एक्सप्लोर नहीं करते हैं मेरे हिसाब से, और वो बहुत खूबसूरत जगह है.